What if I told you that 1 in 3 people watching this video right now is married to a complete stranger? Wait, before you scroll, here's something that'll blow your mind. Did you know that 64% of people discover their partner's affair through their phone? But here's the crazy part. There's a 1 in 420,000 chance of texting a wrong number. Now imagine this. What if that wrong number saved your life? What if the stranger who replied knew your husband was planning to kill you? And what if you fell in love with him? Today, I'm about to tell you the true story of a woman who sent an intimate text to the wrong number, and that one mistake exposed an international weapons conspiracy, a fake marriage, and a romance so dangerous it could end in death. But here's what no one talks about. The man who saved her? He's a criminal. The husband she trusted? He's a trained assassin. And the woman she thought she was? She never existed. Now, my mum literally bet me 50,000 Nigerian nairas that this video can't hit 1,000 views because nobody watches long stories anymore. So here's the deal. Comment right now where you're watching from. I wanna see if we can get every country on earth in this comment section. And if you don't hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications in the next 5 seconds, you're gonna miss the craziest plot twist at the end. I'm serious. Share this with your group chats right now. Let's prove my mum wrong together. Oh, and that text message? It was only 3 words. But by the end of this story, those 3 words will change everything you thought you knew about love, trust, and fate. Let's dive in. Thunder cracked across the Dubai skyline as Amora Chen's fingers trembled over her phone. The silk nightgown clung to her bronze skin, her pulse racing with a mixture of hope and fear. 5 days. 5 entire days since Marcus had been home. 5 days of sleeping alone in their penthouse overlooking the marina, staring at the chandeliers, wondering when her husband had transformed into a ghost. The rain began hammering against the floor-to-ceiling windows, each drop echoing the anxiety pounding in her chest. She looked around their bedroom, the king-sized bed they barely shared anymore, the expensive furniture that felt more like a showroom than a home, the wedding photo on the nightstand where they both smiled like they believed in forever. When had that changed? When had Marcus's kisses become perfunctory pecks? When had his "I love yous" started sounding like lines from a script he was tired of performing? She typed quickly before her nerve could fail her. "I miss you. I'm waiting. Please come home tonight." Her thumb wavered over the send button. This was her final attempt to rescue what was left of their 3-year marriage. One last effort to feel cherished, wanted, seen. She thought about their first date, how Marcus had looked at her across the table at that Italian restaurant in downtown Dubai, how he'd listened to her talk about cybersecurity like it was the most fascinating subject in the world. How he'd called her brilliant. How he'd made her feel like she mattered. When did that man disappear? She hit send. The message disappeared into the void. Amora placed the phone on the marble nightstand and waited, anxiety twisting in her stomach. Beyond the windows, rain began pelting the glass harder, as if the sky itself was crying for her dying marriage. She hugged her knees, remembering their wedding. How Marcus had gazed at her like she hung the moon. How his vows had sounded so genuine beneath the flower arch, witnessed by friends and family. How her mother had whispered, "You found a good man, Habibti. Hold on to him." How foolish they'd all been. Amara pulled her knees tighter to her chest. She was 29 years old, at the top of her career as a cybersecurity consultant, respected in her field, financially independent. Yet here she was, reduced to sending desperate text messages to a husband who couldn't even bother to come home. When had she become this woman? This hollow version of herself who waited by the phone like a 1950s housewife? Her phone buzzed, and her heart leaped. But when she grabbed it, her stomach dropped. The message had a red exclamation mark next to it. Message failed to deliver. She stared at it, confused. She tried again. Same result. That's when she noticed it. She'd been so upset, so anxious, that when she typed in the number from Marcus's new business card, the one he'd left on his dresser last week, she transposed 2 digits. Wrong number. Humiliation washed over her. She'd just sent an intimate, vulnerable message to a complete stranger. Before she could process this mortification, her phone buzzed again. A new message from the number she'd accidentally texted. Message received. But I think you have the wrong person. Then, a few seconds later. Wrong recipient. But I'm intrigued by someone who waits for a man who makes you this lonely. 8,000 kilometers away in Singapore, Kang Jiwon stood by the window of his high-rise apartment in Marina Bay, watching city lights shimmer through the darkness. At 34, he controlled the Phoenix Alliance with ruthless efficiency, weapons coordination, strategic intelligence, political manipulation. His network stretched from Singapore to Bangkok, from Hong Kong to Nairobi. He was feared, respected, and utterly alone. The penthouse was immaculate. Minimalist furniture, art that cost more than most people's homes, technology that could hack into government databases. Everything perfect. Everything empty. His phone vibrated on the glass desk. Unknown number. Dubai, UAE. He nearly dismissed it. His life was compartmentalized. Business contacts used encrypted channels. Personal contacts were virtually non-existent. Random messages usually meant danger or opportunity, often both. But something compelled him to check. Perhaps the timing. Perhaps destiny, wearing the mask of coincidence. His dark eyes scanned the message, and for the first time in 6 years, since the night his fiancée was killed before his eyes, Kang Jiwon felt something other than rage or emptiness. Curiosity. The message was simple, vulnerable, heartbreaking. Someone waiting for someone who clearly didn't deserve them. Someone brave enough to reach out despite the risk of rejection. The scar tracing his jawline, a gift from the night May died, tightened as he responded. He should have deleted it. Should have blocked the number. Should have done what he always did. Maintained distance, avoided complications, stayed focused on the war he'd been fighting for 6 years. But he didn't. Wrong recipient. But I'm intrigued by someone who waits for a man who makes you this lonely. He set the phone down and returned to the window, expecting nothing. Random wrong numbers never replied. People were embarrassed, they moved on. His phone buzzed again. God, I apologize. That message wasn't for you. Please delete it and forget this happened. Kai smiled. Actually smiled. Lin Wei, his second-in-command who was reviewing security reports across the room, looked up in shock. In 6 years, she'd seen her boss laugh maybe twice. Smile? Never. Boss, you okay? Kai ignored her, typing back. Why would I erase the most fascinating message I've received in years? Tell me about him. This man who makes you wait alone. He shouldn't be doing this. He had a weapons shipment arriving in Jakarta in 48 hours. He had intelligence suggesting Lady Zhao's Red Dragon Syndicate was planning a major operation in the Middle East. He had a meeting with his Bangkok contacts in 12 hours. But something about this message, this person, this moment of unexpected human connection in his carefully controlled world of violence and strategy. Something made him continue. The reply came quickly. He's my husband. He's been away 5 days on business. Or so he claims. Kai leaned against his desk. There was pain in those words. Doubt. The kind of doubt that came from 1,000 small betrayals, not one big revelation. And you don't believe him? I don't know what to believe anymore. He's different. Distant. Like I'm an obligation instead of a choice. Kai knew that feeling intimately. Before May died, before he discovered the truth about his mentor's betrayal, he'd felt like his whole life was built on lies. The sensation of the ground crumbling beneath your feet while everyone around you acted like everything was normal. How long has he been different? Months. Maybe longer. I think I've been lying to myself, making excuses. It's easier than facing the truth. What truth? That I married a stranger. That I never really knew him at all. In his penthouse, Kai's attention sharpened. This wasn't just a wrong number anymore. This was something else. A feeling he'd learned to trust over years of surviving in the criminal underworld. The instinct that told him when something was significant. He gestured to Lin Wei, who immediately put down her tablet and approached. Her short black hair framed features that had witnessed excessive violence for her 30 years. She'd been with Kai since the beginning, since the night he took control of the Phoenix Alliance from the men who'd killed May. Summon Chan, Kai said quietly, his eyes never leaving his phone screen. I need a trace on this contact. Lin Wei's expression didn't change, but her voice carried warning. Boss, is this wise? We have the Red Dragon situation to manage. Lady Zhao is moving artillery through East Africa. We don't need complications. Just do it. Lin studied him for a long moment. She'd known Kai long enough to recognize when arguing was pointless. You haven't shown interest in anyone since May. What makes this different? Kai didn't answer. He wasn't sure he knew himself. 15 minutes later, Chun rushed in, laptop already open, fingers dancing across keys. The young tech expert's face glowed from the screen as he navigated through firewalls and encrypted systems with the ease of someone who'd been hacking since he was 12 years old. Give me a few minutes, Chun muttered, his fingers flying. Dubai numbers are routed through multiple carriers, but I can triangulate the, got it. His face went pale. Boss, you need to see this. Kai moved behind Chen's chair, looking at the screen. A photo appeared, a beautiful woman with intelligent brown eyes and natural waves framing her face. Professional headshot, confident smile, but something in her eyes spoke of hidden sadness. Amara Chun, 29, cybersecurity consultant with Fortress Digital Solutions. Master's degree from MIT, specializing in network infrastructure and threat analysis. Lives in Dubai Marina, Palm Jumeirah address. Clean history, excellent reputation in her field, frequently speaks at international conferences on cybersecurity. Kai studied her photo. She was more than beautiful. There was intelligence there, strength, vulnerability. The kind of person who'd built something real while staying genuine. But boss, Chen's voice dropped. Her husband is Marcus Chun. The room went cold. Show me everything. Chun pulled up file after file. Marcus Chun, 36, officially an international trade consultant specializing in medical equipment and agricultural technology. Officially someone who traveled extensively for legitimate business. Officially a respected member of Dubai's business community. Unofficially, a covert operative for Lady Zhao Ming's Red Dragon Syndicate. Kai felt his jaw tighten as image after image loaded. Marcus Chun meeting with known arms dealers in Singapore. Financial transactions flowing through shell companies in the Cayman Islands. Encrypted communications with Red Dragon operatives. Intelligence reports stamped with classifications that shouldn't exist outside government agencies. The man had been channeling intelligence from the Middle East directly to Kai's most lethal rival for at least 2 years. Financial transactions showing millions moving through offshore accounts. Weapon inventories disguised as medical supplies. Transport corridors through Dubai's Jebel Ali port, one of the largest shipping hubs in the world. Everything flowing from Dubai to Singapore, engineered to dismantle the Phoenix Alliance from within. There's more, Chun continued, his voice grim. He pulled up surveillance photographs, and Kai's hands clenched into fists. Marcus Chun with a stunning Asian woman. Kissing outside an upscale restaurant in Singapore's Orchard Road. Embracing at the Fullerton Hotel. Shopping together at a luxury jewelry store, where the woman tried on engagement rings while Marcus stood behind her, arms wrapped around her waist. Who is she? Kai asked, though something told him he already knew the answer. Zhao Lin. Lady Zhao's younger sister. Of course. It was elegant, really. Lady Zhao had placed her own sister as Marcus's mistress, ensuring loyalty, ensuring control. And Marcus had played his role perfectly. Married a brilliant, respected woman in Dubai to create the perfect cover identity, all while maintaining his real relationship with Zhao Lin in Singapore. Chin clicked through more photos. Marcus and Zhao Lin at Marina Bay Sands. At Sentosa Island beaches. At luxury apartments that Chen's research showed were owned by shell companies traced back to the Red Dragon Syndicate. In one image, Zhao Lin wore an engagement ring that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. Does she know? Kai asked quietly, his eyes returning to Amara's photo on the screen. The wife. Lin Wei shook her head, having reviewed the intelligence over Chen's shoulder. No indication. From what we can tell, she's completely oblivious. He married her 3 years ago as cover. Perfect businessman persona, attractive wife, legitimate address, impeccable background check. She's a cybersecurity expert, which gave him access to corporate networks and security protocols. Her reputation opened doors across the Middle East and Africa. Kai stared at Amara's photo. In every image Chun had pulled from her social media and professional profiles, there was that same shadow behind her smile. Even in her wedding photos, gorgeous ceremony on a Dubai beach, sunset backdrop, hundreds of guests, Amara's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Had she sensed it even then? That something was wrong? That the man she was marrying was performing rather than promising? What do you want to do? Lin asked carefully. This could be valuable intelligence. We could use her to get to him, to expose Lady Zhao's operations in the Middle East. No. The word came out harder than Kai intended. No. I'm going to tell her the truth. Lin Wei's eyes widened. That's insane. She's married to our enemy. This could be a trap. For all we know, she's part of it, the perfect innocent act to draw you in. Look at her, Lin. Kai turned the laptop screen toward his friend. Does she look like someone who knows her husband is a spy? She just sent a desperate text to what she thought was his number, begging him to come home. That's not tradecraft. That's heartbreak. Since when do you care about innocent bystanders? The question wasn't accusatory, just genuinely confused. Kai was silent for a long moment. Since never, really. He'd built his empire on cold calculations and strategic ruthlessness. Empathy was a luxury he couldn't afford. After May's death, after discovering that his own mentor had been secretly working with the Red Dragon Syndicate, using the Phoenix Alliance as a front for their operations, Kai had sealed off every soft part of himself. He'd taken control of the organization through violence and intimidation. He'd eliminated every person loyal to his mentor. He'd declared war on Lady Zhao and her syndicate. He'd spent 6 years building something powerful enough to destroy the people who'd killed the woman he loved. But something about that text message, that raw vulnerability, that desperate hope, that brave reach across the darkness for connection, had cracked something open inside him that he'd thought was permanently sealed. I know what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trusted completely, Kai said quietly. To build your life around someone only to discover it was all a lie. I won't let that happen to someone else if I can prevent it. Back in Dubai, Amara couldn't stop texting the mysterious stranger. She knew it was reckless, possibly stupid, definitely inappropriate for a married woman. But for the first time in months, maybe years, someone was genuinely talking to her. Listening to her. Responding like her words had value. Do you love him? The stranger asked. Amara stared at the question for a long time. It should have been easy to answer. Yes, of course I love my husband. That's what you say. That's what you're supposed to feel. But sitting alone in her bed at 2 a.m., watching rain stream down Dubai's glittering skyline, Amara realized she didn't know the answer anymore. I thought I did, she typed finally. Now I'm not sure I ever truly knew him. What makes you say that? And suddenly, everything poured out. Words she'd never said to anyone. Feelings she'd suppressed, rationalized, explained away. He's different. Or maybe I'm finally seeing who he always was. The odd-hour phone calls where he leaves the room and comes back 20 minutes later with vague explanations. The second phone I discovered last month that he thinks I don't know about. Hidden in his office drawer, no personal information, just numbers and coded messages I don't understand. When I try talking to him about us, about our future, about starting a family, he makes me feel insane for wanting more. He says I'm being dramatic, that I don't understand the pressures of his work, that I should be grateful for our lifestyle instead of complaining. But I'm not complaining. I just want my husband back. Except I'm starting to think the husband I remember never actually existed. The response came quickly. You're not insane. Trust your intuition. What else have you noticed? Amara thought about all the little things she'd dismissed. The expensive gifts that appeared after long absences. Jewelry, designer clothes, spontaneous luxury purchases that felt more like guilt offerings than genuine affection. The way Marcus's eyes would go distant during conversations, like he was calculating responses rather than simply talking to her. The perfume on his clothes that wasn't hers. The credit card statements with charges from Singapore that he claimed were work conferences, but when she'd asked about the conferences, he'd been vague about details. Everything feels like performance, she typed. Like he's playing the role of loving husband, but he's forgotten his lines. Sometimes I catch him looking at me like I'm a stranger. Or worse, like I'm an inconvenience he has to manage. How long has this been happening? I don't know. Months? Maybe from the beginning, and I was too in love to see it. We got married quickly, 6 months from meeting to wedding. Everyone said it was romantic. Now I wonder if it was strategic. Strategic how? Amara paused. Why had she used that word? But now that she typed it, it felt right. Like her subconscious had been trying to tell her something her conscious mind refused to accept. I work in cybersecurity. High-level corporate clients, government contracts occasionally. My reputation in the field is solid. I have connections across the Middle East and Africa through my work. And Marcus? He was always very interested in my clients, in my projects, in my professional network. He'd ask detailed questions about security systems, about network infrastructures, about which companies I was consulting for. At first, I thought he was just being supportive, interested in my work. But now I wonder. She stopped typing. The thought forming in her mind was too paranoid, too much like a thriller novel instead of real life. What do you wonder? The stranger prompted. Nothing. I'm being ridiculous. You're not. Trust your instincts. What were you going to say? Amara took a deep breath. I wonder if he married me for my access. For what I could give him professionally, not personally. The moment she sent it, she felt foolish. That was crazy, right? People didn't marry other people for corporate espionage. This was real life, not a spy movie. But then the stranger replied. You're not crazy. And I need to tell you something. But first, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I don't even know your name. My name is Kai. And Amara, what I'm about to tell you will change everything. She froze. He knew her name. How did he know her name? How do you know who I am? Because after you sent that text, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I traced your number. I needed to know who you were. And what I discovered. Amara, your husband isn't who you think he is. Her blood turned to ice. What do you mean? Who are you? Are you stalking me? I'm not stalking you. I'm trying to protect you. Your husband is involved in things that put you in danger. Serious danger. This is crazy. I'm blocking this number. Wait. Before you do, I'm going to send you something. Just look at it. If you think I'm lying after you see it, block me and forget this ever happened. But Amara, you deserve to know the truth. She should have blocked him immediately. Should have called the police. Should have told Marcus that some crazy person was sending her disturbing messages. But she didn't. Because deep down, beneath all the denial and rationalization and desperate hope, Amara knew something was very, very wrong with her marriage. And maybe, just maybe, this stranger had the answers she'd been too afraid to seek. Send it, she typed. The files came through encrypted messages. At first, Amara didn't understand what she was looking at. Photos of Marcus with a beautiful Asian woman. Okay, that could be innocent. A colleague, a client, Then she saw them kissing. Her hands started shaking. More photos. Marcus and this woman embracing outside hotels. Shopping together, laughing together, touching each other with the familiarity of people who'd been intimate for a long time. The woman trying on engagement rings while Marcus stood behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. An engagement ring. Amara's vision blurred with tears, but she kept scrolling. Bank statements showing massive transfers to offshore accounts, amounts that made her gasp. She and Marcus had separate finances, but she'd assumed his income as a trade consultant was similar to hers. These numbers were staggering. Millions of dollars flowing through accounts she'd never heard of. Documents with corporate logos she didn't recognize. But the numbers weren't corporate, they were weapon specifications. Shipping manifests. Port security assessments. And finally, surveillance photos of Marcus meeting with heavily armed men. One image clearly showing a tattoo on a man's neck, a red dragon coiled around a sword. Amara ran to the bathroom and vomited. her entire world fragmenting into pieces too sharp to reassemble. She splashed cold water on her face, gripping the marble sink, staring at her reflection. Who was she? The naive woman who'd believed every lie. Or someone stronger. Someone who could face the truth no matter how devastating. When she could breathe again, Amara returned to her bedroom. Her phone showed more messages from Kai. I know this is devastating. I know you have no reason to trust me. But you need to see everything. Are you okay? She wasn't okay. She would never be okay again. But she typed, show me everything. I want to know exactly what my husband is involved in. Are you somewhere safe? Somewhere he can't walk in on you? He's not here. He's never here. Good. What I'm about to tell you. Amara, this is going to be hard to hear. But you need to know the truth. For the next hour, sitting on her bathroom floor, Amara learned about a world she never knew existed. Kai explained everything methodically, sending documentation with each claim. Lady Zhao Ming's Red Dragon Syndicate. International weapons trafficking. Strategic operations across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Political corruption, corporate espionage, criminal networks that operated at levels Amara had never imagined. And Marcus, her husband, the man she'd pledged her life to, was one of their most valuable operatives. He married you specifically because of who you are, Kai explained. Your cybersecurity expertise, your reputation, your professional network. You gave him credibility. Your work with corporate clients and government contractors gave him access to security systems, shipping protocols, political connections. You were the perfect cover. Amara felt sick reading it, but it made horrifying sense. Every time Marcus had asked about her work, every dinner party where he'd encouraged her to mingle with potential clients, every conference he'd insisted she attend, it hadn't been support. It had been exploitation. And the woman in the photos? Amara typed, not sure she wanted to know. Zhao Lin. Lady Zhao's younger sister. Your husband's real fiancée. They've been together for at least 5 years, probably longer. You were never his wife, Amara. You were his cover story. She read that message 3 times before its full meaning penetrated. 5 years. Marcus had been with this woman for 5 years. Which meant he'd been with her when he met Amara. When he'd courted her. When he'd proposed. When he'd stood at the altar and promised to forsake all others. It had all been a lie. Every moment, every kiss, every whispered I love you performance. Pretense. Strategy. Why are you telling me this? Amara typed through tears. What do you want from me? A video call request appeared. She stared at it for a long moment. This was insane. She was in her bathroom at 3 a.m., her marriage destroyed, communicating with a stranger who could be anyone. But what did she have left to lose? She accepted. The face filling her screen made her breath catch. Kai was devastatingly handsome, sharp features, intense dark eyes that seemed to see through her, black hair swept back from his forehead. But it was the scar along his jaw and the weight in his gaze that told her this was a man who'd survived things that would break most people. I'm telling you because I know what it's like to lose someone because I didn't act fast enough, Kai said, his English accented but clear. His voice was deep, controlled, but she could hear genuine emotion beneath it. 6 years ago, the woman I loved was murdered by the same people your husband works for. She was an investigative reporter who discovered evidence of their operations. She tried to go to the authorities. They killed her in front of me as a warning. Made me watch. Told me this was what happened when people interfered with their business. His hand unconsciously touched the scar on his jaw. And then they revealed that my own mentor, the man who'd built the organization I worked for, who I'd trusted like a father, had been secretly partnering with them. Everything I'd believed in, everything I'd built my life around, was a lie. They'd been using us as a front for their operations for years, and I'd been too blind to see it. Amara stared at him, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. After that, I took control of the Phoenix Alliance. I eliminated everyone loyal to my mentor. I cut all ties with the Red Dragon Syndicate. Yes, I still operate in the shadows. Yes, I've done things I'm not proud of. But I have lines I won't cross. I don't traffic drugs. I don't harm civilians. I don't stage terrorist attacks. And I don't let the people I care about become collateral damage. He leaned closer to the camera, his dark eyes intense. So when I saw that text message from you, when I discovered who you were married to, I saw a chance. A chance to protect someone before it was too late. To not repeat the mistake that cost May her life. Maybe it's selfish. Maybe I'm trying to save you to save myself from that guilt. But Amara, I swear to you, I will not let them hurt you. What are you? Amara whispered. Really? Dangerous, Kai said simply. I run an organization that operates outside the law. I coordinate operations that most governments would call criminal. I've killed people, Amara. I've done things that would horrify you if you knew the details. He paused, his expression softening slightly. But not to innocent people. Not to people who didn't choose this life. And certainly not to someone brave enough to reach out in the darkness hoping for connection. That takes courage. Real courage. The kind most people don't have. Why should I believe anything you say? You just admitted you're a criminal. You shouldn't believe me based on my word. You should verify everything I've told you. Check his laptop. Check his bank accounts. Check the name Red Dragon Syndicate online. Search for news about weapons trafficking in Southeast Asia. Then decide if I'm lying. Amara wiped her eyes, her mind racing. Even if everything you're saying is true, what am I supposed to do? I can't just come to Singapore. The words hung between them. Impossible and insane. What? Come to Singapore, Kai repeated. I'll protect you. I'll show you everything. All the evidence, all the intelligence we have on your husband's operations. And then you can decide what you want to do. Go to the authorities, disappear, whatever you need. But Amara, if you stay there, you're at risk. At risk of what? Your husband's employers are planning something big. Something that will hurt a lot of people. And when they're done using him, they'll eliminate anyone who knows too much or who could become a liability. Wives, especially brilliant wives who work in cybersecurity and have access to networks and information, they're liabilities, Amara. She felt cold. He would never hurt me. The man you married wouldn't. The man you thought you knew wouldn't. But Amara, Kai's voice was gentle but firm. You never married that man. You married a fiction. A character created to serve a purpose. And when you're no longer useful, or worse, when you become a threat to their operations, that character will do what he was trained to do. Amara closed her eyes, trying to process everything. This was insane. Flying across the world to meet a man who admitted he was a criminal, based on a wrong number text message. Based on photos and documents that could be fabricated. Based on the word of a stranger. But those photos weren't fabricated. She knew Marcus's face, his posture, his expressions. That was him with that woman. That was him in those meetings. And the bank statements, she could check those. She knew how to access financial records, trace digital footprints. She was a cybersecurity expert, after all. I need time to think, she said finally. You don't have much time. Whatever they're planning is accelerating. I can sense it. These operations have rhythms, patterns. And everything I'm seeing suggests they're moving into final stages. Final stages of what? I don't know yet. But Amara, people are going to die. Possibly thousands of people. And your husband is helping make it happen. After they ended the call, Amara sat in the bathroom for another hour, trying to breathe through panic. The tiles were cold against her back. The rain had stopped, leaving Dubai silent and dark. Somewhere in this glittering city, Marcus was probably with that woman. With his real fiancée. Living his real life while Amara played the role of unknowing wife in his elaborate cover story. Finally, she stood. Splashed more water on her face. Looked at her reflection with new eyes. She could cry. She could collapse. She could confront Marcus and probably be gaslit into doubting her own sanity. Or she could be smart. Strategic. Use the skills that had made her successful in her career. She could find the truth herself. If you're still watching this, Drop a Dubai in the comments right now. I need to know how many of you are as shocked as I was when I discovered what happens next. And seriously, if you haven't hit that like button yet, do it now before you forget. Trust me, you're going to want to remember where you found this story. Amara went to Marcus's study. Her hands were steadier now, her mind focused. The door was locked, but she knew where he kept the spare key. In a decorative book on the hallway shelf, Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. She'd always thought it was romantic, him keeping a key in her favorite novel. Now she realized it was probably strategic. Hide things in plain sight, especially in places associated with the naive wife's interests. She'd never look there because it was hers. The study was immaculate as always. Mahogany desk, leather chair, wall of books that Marcus had probably never read. His laptop sat closed on the desk. She opened it, expecting a password screen. Her heart hammered. If it was locked, she'd have to try to crack it, which could take hours and might alert him if he had security protocols installed. Instead, it opened directly to his desktop. No password. No security. He'd been so confident in his deception, he hadn't even bothered with basic security measures at home. Why would he? His stupid wife would never think to look. Amara's hands moved across the keyboard with practiced efficiency. She opened his email client, already logged in. Opened his file folders, organized, labeled, shockingly accessible. It was like he wanted her to find this. Or more likely, he was so arrogant he'd never imagined she'd look. The emails confirmed everything Kai had told her. And worse. Messages about weapon shipments disguised as agricultural equipment and medical supplies. Detailed briefs on port security at Dubai's Jebel Ali terminal, one of the busiest ports in the world, handling millions of containers annually. Plans for something called Operation Red Dawn, scheduled for 10 days from now during an international economic summit in Singapore. The summit would bring together world leaders, finance ministers, tech executives, and security officials from across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. It was designed to strengthen economic cooperation, discuss cybersecurity threats, and establish new trade agreements. According to these emails, it was also going to be a massacre. Casualty estimates ranged from 2,000 to 5,000 depending on timing and execution. The attack would be blamed on extremist groups, destabilizing the region, justifying military interventions, and, most importantly for the Red Dragon Syndicate, creating chaos that would allow them to consolidate control over weapons trafficking routes across 3 continents. Amara's professional training took over. She didn't panic. She systematically went through every file, every email, every document. She created an encrypted backup on a drive she kept in her purse, the one Marcus didn't know about because he'd never thought to look. And woven through all of it, through the operational plans and casualty estimates and strategic analyses, were messages to Zhao Lin. I can't wait until this is over. I'm tired of pretending with her. Marcus, soon my love. Once Red Dawn is complete and Zhang's network is dismantled, we'll have everything. The entire Arabian corridor, the African routes, political leverage across 3 continents. Then I'll be free of this charade. Your sister keeps asking about your wife. What should I tell her? Marcus, tell her nothing. Amara is just cover. She means nothing. She's served her function. After Singapore, we'll arrange an accident. Something clean, untraceable. A car crash, maybe. Or a random mugging gone wrong. Lady Zhao has people who specialize in making problems disappear. Won't people ask questions? You're married to her. Marcus, that's the beauty of it. I'll be the grieving husband. Devastated by the loss. It'll make me even more sympathetic in business circles. And you and I can wait a respectful year before going public. No one will question it. Amara had to read that exchange 3 times before its full meaning penetrated. They were planning to kill her. Not as collateral damage. Not as an unfortunate necessity. But as a convenient loose end to tie up once she'd served her purpose. After Singapore. After Operation Red Dawn. After thousands of people died in an attack her husband was helping to orchestrate. Then it would be her turn. She thought about all the accidents that had almost happened in recent months. The car that had swerved into her lane on Sheikh Zayed Road, nearly forcing her into concrete barriers. The food poisoning that had put her in the hospital for 2 days. She'd blamed a restaurant, but now she wondered. The attempted mugging outside her office building that had been interrupted by security guards. Had those been practice runs? Test attempts to see how easy it would be? Or warnings that she'd been too naive to recognize? Amara carefully restored everything on Marcus's laptop to exactly how she'd found it. Closed the programs in the same order. Made sure no evidence remained that she'd been there. Then she went back to the bedroom, pulled out her own laptop, and started booking flights. She used her maiden name, Amara Hassan. Bought a ticket to London first, with a connection to Singapore. Paid cash at a travel agency the next morning, not using any of her credit cards or online accounts. If Marcus or his employers were monitoring her financial activity, and she had to assume they were, she needed this to look like an impulsive trip to visit family. She texted her sister Sarah in London, asking if she could visit. Sarah, who'd met Marcus exactly twice and never trusted him, responded within minutes. Sarah, finally. Yes, come immediately. Stay as long as you want. What happened? Amara, tell you when I get there. But Sarah, if Marcus calls you, tell him I'm with you. Don't mention Singapore. Sarah, Singapore? Amara, what's going on? Amara, just trust me. I'll explain everything. I love you. Then she texted Kai. I'm coming. But if this is a trap, if you hurt me, I promise you'll regret it. His response was immediate. If I hurt you, I'll deserve whatever you do to me. Send me your flight details. I'll have people watching you from the moment you leave your apartment until you're safe with me. Safe with you? That's contradictory. Perhaps. But I keep my promises, Amara. And I promise no one will hurt you while I'm breathing. Something about those words, the fierce certainty in them, made Amara feel the first stirring of something other than despair. Not quite hope. She wasn't ready for that. But maybe the possibility of hope. The idea that she could be more than a victim of someone else's lies. That she could fight back. That she could survive this. She packed a small bag, careful to take nothing that would indicate she wasn't planning to return. Left a note for Marcus on the kitchen counter. Gone to London to visit Sarah. Need time to think about us. Back in a week. Don't wait up. The casual cruelty of that last line felt appropriate. How many times had Marcus made her wait up? How many nights had she fallen asleep alone, wondering where he was? As she closed the apartment door behind her at 6 a.m., her bag over her shoulder, Amara felt like she was stepping off a cliff into empty air. No idea if she'd fly or fall. No idea if Kai was her salvation or another nightmare dressed in different clothes. But she knew with absolute certainty that staying was no longer an option. The woman who'd sent that desperate text to the wrong number was gone, fractured into pieces by truth and betrayal. Whoever she was becoming would have to be stronger, smarter, and far more dangerous than naive Amara Chen had ever imagined possible. Okay, before we continue, pause right here. Hit that like button if you think Amara is making the right choice. Comment trust him if you think Kai is telling the truth, or it's a trap if you think she's walking into danger. I'm genuinely curious what you all think. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Part 2 of this story is going to be insane. Click that button now. The flight to London was uneventful, which somehow made Amara more anxious. She kept expecting something to go wrong. Security to pull her aside, Marcus to call with suspicion in his voice, men in suits to grab her at the gate. But nothing happened. She sat in economy class, surrounded by business travelers and tourists, trying to appear normal while her world crumbled around her. She couldn't eat the airplane food. Couldn't focus on the in-flight entertainment. Couldn't stop her mind from racing through scenarios. What if Kai was lying? What if this was an elaborate scheme to kidnap the wife of a Red Dragon operative? What if she landed in Singapore and walked directly into a trap? But then she remembered those emails. Marcus's own words planning her murder. Something clean, untraceable. Making problems disappear. Whatever Kai was, criminal, dangerous, potentially deadly, at least he'd been honest about it. Marcus had spent 3 years lying to her face, sleeping beside her every night while planning to kill her. At Heathrow, during her 4-hour layover, Amara bought a burner phone and texted Kai from it. Changed phones. Marcus might be tracking my original number. This is me. Smart. Your flight to Singapore leaves in 3 hours. I'll have someone meet you at Changi Airport. A woman named Lin Wei. She'll be holding a sign for Sarah Hossan. Your sister's name with your maiden name. That's how you'll know it's her. How do I know I can trust her? You don't. But you're trusting me, and Lin is the person I trust most in the world. She saved my life 4 times. She'll protect you like you're her own sister. Amara bought coffee she couldn't drink, sat in the terminal, and watched planes take off and land. Each one carrying people to their destinations, their lives, their normal problems. Work stress. Family drama. Relationship troubles that didn't involve international weapons trafficking and planned assassinations. She missed being normal. Missed being naive. Missed the version of herself who'd woken up yesterday morning thinking her biggest problem was a distant husband. Her new phone buzzed. Kai again. How are you holding up? I don't know. I feel like I'm in shock. Like this is happening to someone else and I'm just watching. That's normal. Your brain is trying to protect you from processing too much at once. When you land, when you're safe, it'll all hit you. And it's going to hurt. But Amara, you're incredibly brave for doing this. I don't feel brave. I feel terrified. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what needs to be done despite the fear. You're one of the strongest people I've ever encountered. You don't even know me. I know you sent a vulnerable text to someone you thought was your husband, risking rejection and humiliation, because you were brave enough to ask for what you needed. I know you discovered your entire marriage was a lie and instead of falling apart, you're flying across the world to fight back. I know you're a cybersecurity expert who's brilliant enough that international criminals married you just to access your expertise. I know enough. Amara read that message 3 times, feeling something warm unfold in her chest despite everything. When was the last time someone had seen her, really seen her, as more than a role or a resource? Thank you, she typed simply. For what? For treating me like I matter. You do matter. More than you know. The flight to Singapore was longer. 7 hours over mountains and oceans and countries she'd never visited. Amara barely slept, dozing fitfully while her mind conjured nightmares. Marcus finding her note. Discovering her missing laptop drive. Realizing what she knew. Calling Lady Zhao. Sending people to intercept her. She woke with a gasp as the plane descended through clouds, Singapore's lights spreading below like a circuit board. One of the most technologically advanced cities in the world. Clean, efficient, organized. And somewhere down there, the man who'd promised to protect her was waiting. Changi Airport was massive, gleaming, filled with travelers from every corner of the globe. Amara cleared customs with her heart pounding, certain that any moment someone would stop her, question her, detain her. But the immigration officer barely glanced at her passport before stamping it and waving her through. She emerged into the arrivals hall, searching the crowd for someone holding a sign with her sister's name. Businessmen. Families. Tour groups. Taxi drivers with handwritten signs. And there, a woman in her early 30s, short black hair, sharp features, holding a tablet that displayed Sarah Hossan in clear letters. Amara approached cautiously. Lin Wei. The woman's eyes swept over her in a single assessing glance, the kind of look that processed everything from threat level to emotional state in seconds. Amara. Welcome to Singapore. We need to move quickly. Your husband's associates have people watching the airport. Amara's blood ran cold. They know I'm here. They know someone matching your description landed. They don't know it's you yet. You bought your ticket under your maiden name, which bought us time. But they're not stupid. They'll figure it out. My car is in the VIP parking area. Stay close to me, don't make eye contact with anyone, and if I tell you to run, you run. Understood.